When you step into a forest, you step into another world. The air changes. The light softens, filtered through branches and leaves that weave together like a cathedral of green. Beneath your feet, the soil carries centuries of memory. The quiet work of roots and rain, the soft layering of fallen leaves that have turned back into earth. It feels timeless, as if the trees themselves breathe in a slower rhythm than we do, reminding us that nature moves at its own pace. Forests cover nearly a third of Earth's land, stretching from the damp rainforests of the Amazon to the quiet pines of the northern taiga. They are more than just collections of trees. They are living systems, vast and intricate, where countless species of plants, animals, fungi, and microbes live together in delicate balance. Each tree is a pillar, each fallen log a shelter, each patch of moss a small world of its own. When we slow down enough to notice, it is like watching an ancient city alive, with voices too soft for us to hear. One of the most calming facts about forests is that they are, in many ways, the lungs of our planet. Trees draw in carbon dioxide, the same breath we exhale, and release oxygen in return. A single large tree can provide enough oxygen for 2 or more people to breathe each day. Imagine, then, the collective breath of a forest, the slow, steady exhalation of thousands upon thousands of trees, releasing life into the air. It is no wonder that standing in a forest feels like standing inside a living breath. But forests are not silent. If you listen closely, you hear the music of water dripping from leaves, the faint buzz of insects, the distant call of birds hidden among the branches. Each sound is softened by layers of bark, moss, and needles, creating an atmosphere that cradles the mind in calm. Even science has found that time spent in forests lowers stress hormones, eases anxiety, and slows the racing thoughts that so often trouble us at night. Japanese researchers call it Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, the practice of simply being among trees, breathing in their presence, and letting the mind settle into stillness. The trees themselves are far older than us. Some forests hold giants that have stood for hundreds, even thousands of years. The bristlecone pines of North America, twisted and gnarled by centuries of wind and snow, have lived for nearly 5,000 years. Imagine their patience, the way they have stood through storms, droughts, fires, and winters, still reaching skyward each spring. When you lie beneath such a tree, you feel very small, but also strangely safe, as though the tree has carried enough time to shelter your own brief life within its calm. At night, forests take on another kind of quiet. The canopy above hides the stars, and the air cools quickly. Nocturnal animals, squirrels, glide silently from branch to branch. Foxes tread lightly on leaf-strewn paths. Moths flutter in the darkness. And yet, even in these hidden hours, the forest continues its work. Trees rest, slowing their metabolism, conserving energy for the day to come. Roots pull water from the soil. Leaves breathe faintly. Fungi spread their unseen threads through the ground. The forest never stops. Science tells us that beneath our feet, in a forest, lies a secret network, a web of life that connects trees together. Fungal threads, thinner than a hair, stretch through the soil, linking roots across vast distances. Through this underground network, trees share water, nutrients, and even warnings. A shaded sapling may receive sugars from a towering neighbor. A sick tree may send chemical signals to others, urging them to strengthen their defenses. Some scientists call it the wood wide web, a hidden communication system that proves a forest is not just many trees, but a single community whispering beneath the soil. To know this is to feel a kind of peace. The forest, in its vastness, is not chaotic, but connected. It is not hurried, but unhurried, not selfish, but giving. And when we lie quietly in its presence, or even when we close our eyes and imagine it, we begin to share its calm. Our breath slows. Our thoughts settle. The forest invites us to rest, just as it has invited life to rest within its branches for millions of years. So, as you listen, picture yourself in that stillness. Soft moss beneath you, branches above, a gentle hush all around. The forest keeps its watch, ancient and patient, and you, for a little while, can drift into its dream. If you close your eyes and imagine walking through a forest, you can almost feel the change in the air. It is cooler, softer, and somehow cleaner, as though every breath is filtered through leaves. This is not just a feeling, it is a fact. Forests purify the air around them. Leaves capture dust, pollen, and pollutants, while the soil beneath absorbs harmful gases. A stand of trees can act like a natural air filter, quietly cleansing the environment without effort, without machines, only through the steady rhythm of life. In some ways, the forest is an orchestra of invisible processes. While the trees rise tall and visible, much of their work is unseen. Through photosynthesis, the simple miracle of sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide is transformed into sugars and oxygen. With every leaf, this ancient alchemy takes place. Imagine billions of leaves across the earth, each one a tiny green engine, working silently together. When the sun rises in the morning and touches the canopy, a forest awakens not with noise, but with chemistry, with the hum of unseen exchanges that sustain life. But forests are not only about trees, they are layered worlds, with each level supporting different lives. At the top, in the canopy, birds weave nests, insects crawl along branches, and monkeys swing in tropical forests where leaves never fall. Below, in the understory, vines climb toward light. Ferns spread their delicate fronds. Closer still to the ground, the forest floor is alive with mushrooms, mosses, beetles, and the small scurrying of mammals that search for food. This structure canopy, understory, floor is like a natural city, with neighborhoods stacked one above the other, each alive in its own way, each necessary for the whole. Even the soil beneath your feet is far more than dirt. A handful of forest soil holds more organisms than there are humans on Earth. Bacteria and fungi, worms and insects all work together to recycle fallen leaves and branches, breaking them down into nutrients that trees can drink again through their roots. This cycle is endless. What falls becomes food, and what is food becomes life. Nothing is wasted, nothing is lost. The forest teaches us that endings are never truly endings. They are beginnings in disguise. There are many kinds of forests across our world. The temperate forests, with their maples and oaks, pass through seasons of color, green in spring, fiery red and gold in autumn, bare silence in winter. Tropical rainforests, rich with endless rain, never lose their canopy of green. their air thick with humidity and life. Boreal forests, or taiga, stretch across the cold north, where endless pines and spruces whisper in the wind, their needles dusted with snow. Each forest type feels different, sounds different, and yet all share the same role: to balance, to breathe, to endure. Animals, to live by the forest's rules. In North America, deer wander through woodland meadows, feeding on shrubs at dawn and dusk. In the Amazon, bright parrots flash across the sky, their calls echoing above the river. In the stillness of European woodlands, foxes slip silently between trees, their paws barely disturbing the leaves. Every species has its place, every movement part of the whole. The forest is not just background, it is the stage and the actors all at once. There is a quiet science to how forests hold water. Their roots draw it from deep beneath the ground, pulling it upward into leaves, where it evaporates into the air. This process, called transpiration, helps shape weather itself. A large forest can create clouds above it, influencing rainfall hundreds of miles away. In this way, forests are not only homes for life, but engineers of climate, shaping the very air we breathe and the rain that falls on distant fields. Without forests, rivers would shrink, soil would dry, and the rhythm of water across the earth would falter. And yet, for all their complexity, forests are also places of deep simplicity. To walk among trees is to be reminded of slowness. While we rush, they remain still. While our lives race through years, theirs stretch through centuries. They do not hurry to grow. They do not hurry to bloom. Their wisdom is in patience, in waiting, in letting time unfold as it must. Science tells us that growth rings in trees are not only records of age, but diaries of the seasons. Wide rings for wet years, narrow rings for dry ones. To cut across a trunk is to open a memory, a record of storms, of droughts, of decades long before we were born. There is comfort in knowing that a tree remembers, that forests, in their quiet way, keep the stories of Earth written in wood and soil. When you lie beneath a tree and look upward through its branches, you are gazing not just at leaves, but at years stacked upon years. Time rising above you in living form. And in that awareness, sleep comes easily. For in the forest, every breath is a gift, every sound a lullaby, and every fact, no matter how scientific, feels like part of a dream whispered by the earth itself. Asterisk. At night, the forest changes. What was alive with birdsong and light becomes something else entirely, a place of whispers and shadows, where the unseen becomes more alive than the seen. The sun dips below the horizon, and the canopy darkens, turning the forest into a cathedral of silhouettes. The air cools, and with that cooling comes a new rhythm of life. For centuries, humans feared the night forest. In ancient tales, it was a place of mystery, of spirits, of creatures unknown. And while those stories were born from imagination, they were also born from truth. The forest at night belongs to the nocturnal. Creatures with heightened senses awaken when we close our eyes. Owls, with wings designed for silence, glide between branches without a sound. Their feathers have serrated edges that break the air softly, ensuring that prey never hears them coming. Their eyes, so large compared to their heads, gather light even in near total darkness, painting the night in shades we cannot see. Small mammals emerge. Two mice scurrying among fallen leaves. Bats flitting through the air. Foxes padding silently on narrow paths. Each has adapted to the rhythm of the dark. Many of them rely on senses beyond vision. A bat, for example, hunts using echolocation, sending out high-pitched calls and listening to the echoes as they bounce off insects. In the span of a heartbeat, the bat's brain creates a map of the night sky, a living radar that guides it through the blackness. It is science, but it feels like magic. The forest floor tells another story. Insects stir, beetles crawl, and the faint glow of bioluminescence appears. In some forests, tiny fungi emit pale blue-green light in the dark, a phenomenon scientists call foxfire. It is caused by chemical reactions within the fungus as it breaks down decaying wood. Imagine wandering through a silent forest and seeing the faint shimmer of glowing logs, an ancient lantern, created not by humans but by nature itself. Some forests go even further. In tropical rainforests, fireflies light up the night in dazzling patterns, each species flashing in its own rhythm. In some places, entire groups of fireflies synchronize, creating waves of light that ripple through the trees like living starlight. For scientists, this is an example of natural synchronization, an emergent property of life. Of the night, forest is equally mesmerizing. Crickets sing, their legs rubbing together to create steady chirps that rise and fall with the temperature. In fact, you can roughly estimate the warmth of a summer night by counting cricket chirps, an odd but charming natural thermometer. Frogs call from streams and ponds, each species with its own voice, some deep, some high, some in chorus. In the stillness, these sounds weave together into a lullaby, steady and calming, reminding you that life continues even when unseen. And yet, the night is not only for the small. Larger creatures move in secret too. In North American forests, the white-tailed deer may step softly from the shadows, grazing in open fields before dawn. In Europe, wild boar root through the undergrowth, their snouts turning soil in search of roots and tubers. In the far north, wolves pace the edges of the taiga, their howls echoing through miles of trees, a sound that is both haunting and deeply grounding. For all their power, even these animals are bound to the forest's rhythm, feeding, moving, surviving under the watch of ancient trees. Science reminds us that night itself is crucial for forests. Plants, like animals, have their own circadian rhythms. During the day, they open tiny pores on their leaves to take in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. At night, many of these pores close, conserving water. Their metabolism shifts, their energy redirected to growth and repair. Some plants even move in their sleep leaves, folding inward, flowers closing, only to open again with the dawn. This gentle breathing of the forest is invisible, yet constant, a pulse as steady as a heartbeat. Perhaps the most fascinating part of the nighttime forest lies beneath the soil. That underground fungal network, the wood wide web, is busiest when the world above is quiet. Sugars produced during the day are sent down into the roots, shared through fungal threads with neighbors. At night, while animals hunt and insects sing, the trees are trading life among themselves, sustaining one another in silence. What feels to us like stillness is, for the forest, an exchange of gifts, food, water, information passed from root to root in the dark dot. To know this is to feel connected. We often think of forests as places of solitude, but the truth is the opposite. Forests are places of deep community. Every owl that glides through branches depends on the tree that shelters it. Every bat that hunts depends on the insects that swarm near streams. Every tree depends on the fungi and microbes in the soil. And all of them depend on the cycles of the sun and moon, the rising and falling of light. So when you imagine yourself in a night forest, let it be a place of peace rather than fear. Picture the quiet pathways, the glow of foxfire on a fallen log, the echo of an owl's wings above. Imagine the slow heartbeat of trees beneath your feet, sending life into the soil. Let yourself become part of that rhythm where science and wonder blend into one. For in the forest, night is not an ending, but a continuation, another chapter in the endless story of life. And as you lie still, listening to this dream of science and nature, perhaps you too feel the call to rest, too slow to breathe as trees breathe, and to let sleep come as gently as the falling of leaves. Asterisk. The forest is never the same twice. It is alive in cycles, shaped not only by day and night, but also by the turning of the seasons. Each season writes its own chapter in the great story of the woods, a rhythm that has played out for millions of years, long before humans kept calendars or measured time. To understand a forest fully, one must walk it in spring, in summer, in autumn, and in winter, listening as it changes its voice, its colors, and its very heartbeat. Spring is the forest's great awakening. After months of stillness, when frost and snow gripped the soil, the rising sun tilts the earth to warmth once again. The air softens, the snow melts, and the ground, once frozen, loosens to release its richness. Seeds that have waited patiently in the soil sense the shift in temperature and moisture. They germinate, tiny green shoots breaking through the brown earth, racing upward toward the light. Scientists know this, as photoperiodism plants measure the length of daylight, using it as a cue to grow and bloom. Leaves unfurl, delicate at first, then stronger, creating the emerald ceiling of the forest canopy. Flowers burst open, not just to delight the eye, but to attract pollinators, bees, butterflies, beetles that stir from their winter shelters. Each flower is a signal, a flare in the quiet woods, saying, "Here is nectar, come and feed." Birdsong swells with spring, too. Migratory birds return, following ancient paths across continents, guided by stars, magnetic fields, and memory. Their voices create dawn choruses so loud they can sound like an orchestra of hundreds. To the birds, this is a declaration of territory and love. To us, it is music, gentle, rhythmic, carrying joy through the air. In spring, the forest is not quiet. It is an explosion of life, a reminder that even after the hardest winters, life waits to bloom again. Then comes summer, when the forest reaches its full abundance. The canopy thickens, blocking sunlight, creating cool green tunnels below. Streams rush clearer with melted snow, and insects hum through the air. This is the season of fullness, when every leaf and blade of grass is at work, catching sunlight and converting it into sugars through photosynthesis. Science tells us that a mature tree, in a single growing season, can produce thousands of leaves. Each one is a tiny factory, pulling carbon dioxide from the air and releasing oxygen in return. To walk through a summer forest is to breathe the very gift of trees, the oxygen that sustains us, made fresh that moment in the light. Animals raise their young in this season of plenty. Squirrels race through branches with mouths full of leaves, shaping soft nests for their babies. Fox kits emerge from dens, learning to pounce in play that will later mean survival. Butterflies, fragile and brilliant, flutter between flowers, each carrying pollen from one bloom to another, weaving invisible threads of connection. Everything is alive. Everything is busy. Summer in the forest feels endless, a season where time slows under the shade of ancient trees. But no season lasts forever. Autumn arrives quietly at first, then all at once. The days shorten, the light shifts, and the air grows crisp. Trees begin their great transformation, painting the forest in gold, crimson, and amber. The science behind this is as beautiful as the sight itself. As daylight decreases, chlorophyll, the green pigment in leaves, breaks down. Hidden beneath it are other pigments, carotenoids and anthocyanins, glowing oranges and reds that suddenly flare into view. For the trees, this is not decoration, but preparation. They are withdrawing nutrients from their leaves, storing energy in their roots for the long sleep ahead. Leaves, no longer useful, are released, drifting to the ground in quiet cascades. Step into an autumn forest, and every breath carries the scent of fallen leaves, of earth returning to itself. This is the forest recycling, breaking down what has fallen to feed what will grow again. Autumn is also a time of harvest for animals. Squirrels bury acorns, instinctively hiding food they may never return to, yet ensuring that forgotten seeds might sprout into new trees. Bears gorge on berries, building fat for the winter sleep. Birds gather in flocks, preparing for migrations, their paths across the sky ancient and unbroken. There is urgency in the autumn woods, but also peace, a sense that everything knows what must be done. And then comes winter, the forest's deep breath. The trees stand bare, their skeletons etched against gray skies. Snow muffles sound, covering paths, bending branches, blanketing the earth in silence. At first glance, winter may seem like lifeless stillness, but in truth, the forest is not dead, is resting, conserving, enduring. Beneath the snow, seeds lie dormant, waiting for spring. Roots continue their slow exchange with the soil. Some animals sleep, bears hibernate, bats slumber in caves, frogs bury themselves in mud where their bodies almost freeze but do not die. Others endure the cold, awake, deer forage through snow. Owls hunt even in blizzards, wolves pad across frozen rivers in search of prey. Life adapts, tough and resilient, finding ways to survive until warmth returns. The science of winter is fascinating. Some trees create antifreeze-like chemicals in their cells to prevent ice from rupturing them. Tiny insects produce glycerol, allowing their bodies to supercool without freezing solid. Even snow itself is part of the cycle, insulating the ground like a blanket, keeping soil temperatures stable so roots and microbes can persist through the coldest nights. But beyond the science lies the poetry of the season. A winter forest feels sacred, The silence, the stillness, the way each snowflake catches the faintest glimmer of light. It invites you to pause, to rest, to reflect, just as the forest does. And so the seasons turn. Spring awakens, summer thrives, autumn prepares, and winter rests. Year after year, this cycle continues, weaving time into the life of the woods. To know a forest is to walk it in every season, to see not just its beauty but its resilience, its ability to change and endure. And perhaps, as you listen to this, you feel a reflection in your own life. For we to have seasons, times of growth, of abundance, of letting go, and of rest. Like the forest, we are not meant to be constant, we are meant to change, to adapt, to renew. Close your eyes and let the rhythm of the seasons guide you into stillness. Imagine springs, blossoms, summers, green shade, autumn's golden leaves, and winter's quiet snow. Feel how they flow together, seamlessly, endlessly, like the breath of the earth itself. Asterisk. In every forest, there are elders giants that tower above the rest. Trees so old that they carry centuries of memory within their rings. They are not just tall plants. They are witnesses of time. Standing beneath one of these giants is like standing before a living monument, a being that has seen countless generations of humans come and go, while it has quietly endured. Consider the redwoods of California, the tallest trees on Earth. Some rise more than 350 feet into the sky, taller than the Statue of Liberty, taller than most skyscrapers. To stand at their base is to feel small, but not in a way that diminishes your other. It feels like being welcomed into a vast and ancient presence. These trees are not hurried. They grow slowly, steadily, over centuries, building layer upon layer of wood, each year adding a thin new ring to their trunks. Science has shown us that redwoods can live for over 2,000 years. Imagine what that means. When the first of these giants sprouted as seedlings, entire civilizations were just beginning. Empires rose and fell, languages changed, technologies advanced, and still, the tree kept reaching upward, drinking light from the sky and water from the earth. A tree that old is not just alive, it is history made flesh and bark. And yet, redwoods are not the only forest elders. Across the world, other ancient trees hold secrets of survival. In the mountains of California's Huaytino Range grow the bristlecone pines, perhaps the oldest living trees on Earth. One of them, known as Methuselah, is over 4,800 years old. To put that in perspective, when this tree began growing, humans had not yet built the pyramids of Egypt. Entire mythologies were still unwritten. And yet, this single pine has endured through storms, droughts, and endless winters, twisted into strange, weathered shapes by the passage of time. How do they survive for so long? Science gives us some clues. Ancient trees often grow in harsh environments where few others can compete. Their wood is dense, resistant to rot and insects. Their growth is slow, which means their rings are tightly packed, making their trunks stronger. And, most importantly, they adapt. A bristlecone pine may lose branches, or even much of its trunk. But as long as one strip of living tissue remains, it continues to endure, sending needles skyward year after year. In Europe, yew trees have their own legends of age. Some are estimated to be thousands of years old, planted near churches or burial grounds, watching as human rituals of life and death unfolded beneath their boughs. The yew has long been seen as sacred, a symbol of eternity, because of its ability to regrow even after being cut back nearly to its base. Its resilience is not just a biological trick, it is a metaphor, teaching us that life finds ways to continue, even when all seems lost. These giants are more than scientific wonders, they are storytellers. Cultures across the world have woven myths around them. The Norse believed that the great tree Yggdrasil connected the heavens, the earth, and the underworld, its roots and branches tying together all realms of existence. In many indigenous traditions, trees are seen as relatives, beings with wisdom, deserving of respect. When you stand before a 1,000-year-old oak or cedar, it is easy to understand why, because in their silence they speak of endurance, patience, and deep time. And there is a hidden truth about forests. Giant trees are not just symbols, they are vital for life itself. A single old-growth tree can store more carbon than hundreds of young saplings. Their roots reach deep, stabilizing soil and channeling water. Their canopies shelter countless birds, insects, and mammals. To lose such a tree is not just to lose a living monument, it is to unravel part of the forest's web. Science has even discovered that old trees play a central role in the underground communication networks of forests. Through the fungal web beneath the soil, these mother trees share nutrients with seedlings growing in their shadow. A young sapling, struggling in the dark, may be fed sugars from an elder tree's roots, sustained until it can reach the light on its own. In this way, the giants nurture the next generation, ensuring that the forest continues long after they themselves are gone. And yet, despite their strength, these giants are fragile too. Fires, logging, and climate change threaten many of the world's oldest trees. Some redwoods have fallen after thousands of years, their enormous trunks left behind like the bones of ancient animals. It is a reminder that even the greatest of living beings are not eternal. They endure longer than us, but they too are part of the cycle: growth, life, decay, and renewal. Still, when you stand before one, the feeling is almost eternal. Imagine placing your hand on the rough bark of a tree that has lived for thousands of years. Feel the grooves beneath your fingertips, each marking decades of storms and summers. Imagine the roots beneath your feet, reaching deep into the soil, anchoring the giant as it rises far above you. For a moment, you are connected not just to the present, but to a span of time so vast it humbles the imagination. Close your eyes and picture yourself lying beneath such a tree. The shade is cool, the trunk is solid, and above you, the canopy sways gently in the wind. You feel safe, protected, small, but not forgotten. Around you, the forest hums with life, but the giant beside you stands as it always has, steady, patient, eternal in its silence. And as you drift, perhaps you begin to carry some of that patience within yourself. For if a tree can endure for thousands of years, standing through storms and changes without hurrying, then maybe we too can learn to slow down, to breathe, and to rest in the quiet strength of time. When most of us imagine a forest, we look upward. We think of tall trunks, spreading branches, and endless canopies of green. But beneath our feet lies another forest, smaller, quieter, yet no less. The forest floor is a kingdom of shadows, of moss and fungi, of crawling life and slow decay, where every fallen leaf becomes the beginning of something new. It is easy to overlook, but in truth, this underworld holds some of the most fascinating secrets of the woods. Step softly onto a forest path and notice the ground beneath you. It is rarely bare soil. Instead, it is layered, leaves from autumn past, twigs broken by storms, needles shed by evergreens, bark that has crumbled from trunks. Over time, this litter is broken down by invisible armies fungi, microbes, beetles, worms, who turn death back into life. Without them, the forest would drown beneath its own remains. But because of them, the floor is always fertile, always ready to feed new roots. Take moss, for example. These tiny, ancient plants are among the oldest land dwellers on Earth, existing long before flowering plants ever appeared. Soft and green, they carpet rocks and fallen logs, soaking up water like sponges. Mosses do not have roots like trees. Instead, they cling to surfaces and draw moisture directly from rain and air. In doing so, they create micro-habitat school, damp shelters where insects, spiders, and even tiny amphibians can hide. A single patch of moss can hold a miniature world, unseen unless you kneel close and notice. Fungi are perhaps the most mysterious rulers of the forest floor. To most of us, fungi appear as mushrooms pushing up after rain-round caps, delicate stalks, strange shapes that look almost alien. But these are only the fruiting bodies, brief appearances of a much larger being. The true body of the fungus is hidden beneath the soil, endless filaments called hyphae, stretching and branching until they form networks known as mycelium. This mycelium threads through soil, roots, and decaying wood, quietly digesting and recycling. Without fungi, dead wood would remain locked, its nutrients unavailable. With fungi, forests are reborn, fallen trunks crumble, leaves melt back into soil, and minerals return to the cycle of life. Some fungi glow faintly in the dark, bioluminescent like stars scattered across the ground. Others form partnerships with trees, exchanging water and nutrients for sugars, creating bonds so close that the survival of one depends on the other. Scientists call this the wood wide web, the hidden internet of the forest. Through it, trees send resources to their young, worn neighbors of pests, and share strength in times of stress. And it all happens beneath our feet in silence, invisible unless we learn to look with imagination. And then there are the insects. Ants carve roads through the soil, their colonies engineering tunnels that aerate the earth. Beetles chew through fallen wood, their jaws turning logs into dust. Termites, though often feared, play their part as recyclers, breaking down fibers that few other creatures can digest. Even tiny springtails, so small you might mistake them for dust bounce across the damp soil, feeding on fungi and helping to maintain balance in this miniature world. Every handful of forest soil is alive. Scientists estimate that a single teaspoon of healthy forest dirt can hold billions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, working together in a quiet chorus of life. These unseen beings clean the soil, recycle nutrients, and keep the forest's foundation strong. Without them, even the tallest trees would wither. For no life can rise if the ground itself is dead. The forest floor is also a refuge. Small mammals scurry through the undergrowth. Salamanders slip beneath damp leaves, their skin glistening in the shadows. Snakes wind silently across roots, their bodies blending with bark and soil. At night, owls swoop low to snatch mice that emerge to forage. To some, this may sound like a battlefield, but in truth, it is balance. Each creature has its role, each feeds or is fed upon, and together they weave the invisible fabric of the ecosystem. Even decay, which many of us think of as an ending, is a kind of beginning in the forest. A fallen tree, slowly crumbling, becomes a nurse log. Its rotting wood shelters insects, feeds fungi, and holds moisture for moss. In time, young trees may sprout directly from it, nourished by what came before. In this way, nothing in the forest is ever truly wasted. Death is simply another word for transformation. And perhaps the most calming truth of all is this: the forest floor is slow. It does not rush. Leaves break down over months, logs over years, soil over centuries. The ground beneath us is always changing, but so gently that we do not notice. And yet, it is this slow, patient work that makes everything else possible: the soaring trees, the singing birds, the rushing streams, all depend on the quiet labor of what lies beneath. So, as you listen, imagine lying down on soft moss, the forest floor cool against your skin. Hear the faint rustle of beetles, the distant crackle of a twig. Feel the damp earth, rich with life unseen, holding you as it holds the entire forest. Close your eyes and let yourself sink into that patience, into that endless cycle of renewal. The forest floor cradles not just the trees, but us too, reminding us that even endings can be beginnings, and that from silence, life always rises again. Asterisk. If the forest floor is its foundation, then the canopy is its crown high. Green world above the ground where sunlight and sky meet leaves and branches. It is a kingdom few humans ever see directly, yet it holds some of the greatest mysteries of the natural world. Scientists call it the last biotic frontier because so much life thrives in its heights, hidden from the forest below. Imagine looking upward on a summer day. The canopy is a living ceiling, leaves overlapping in layers, filtering sunlight into beams that dance down to the ground. From below, it may look uniform, but within its branches are countless niches, microhabitats where birds nest, insects feed, monkeys swing, and orchids bloom. To climb into the canopy is to discover a second forest, floating above the first, alive with sound, color, and motion. The canopy is vital for life on Earth. Its leaves catch sunlight, the source of nearly all energy in the forest. Through photosynthesis, they transform light into sugars, feeding not only themselves, but also the animals that depend on them. And in this process, they release oxygen, the very breath we take in every moment. When you inhale deeply in a forest, you are breathing the work of leaves far above you, tirelessly exhaling life. Birds are perhaps the most obvious residents of the canopy. In the rainforests of South America, brilliant macaws flash red, blue, and yellow as they soar above the treetops. Tiny hummingbirds dart between flowers, their wings a blur as they sip nectar. High in the northern forests, warblers weave through branches, their songs spilling into the air like rivers of sound. Each species claims its niche. Some hunt insects on the undersides of leaves. Others weave delicate nests that sway gently in the wind. To walk beneath a canopy is to hear a chorus of unseen singers, each voice layered into the forest's eternal song. But birds are far from the only canopy dwellers. Mammals live here too, adapting to a life among branches. In tropical jungles, monkeys leap effortlessly from tree to tree, their tails curling like ropes to balance them. In Asia, gibbons swing with graceful arms, their calls echoing at dawn like haunting music. Even in temperate forests, squirrels race along branches, storing food, raising young, and leaping with fearless speed. For these creatures, the canopy is not dangerous. It is home, a place where they find food, shelter, and community. The canopy also shelters countless insects. Butterflies rest on leaves, their wings catching sunlight like stained glass. Beetles crawl across bark, their shells gleaming like polished stones. Ants march in endless lines, building pathways across twigs as though they were highways. Many of these insects are specialists, living only in the upper branches, never descending to the ground. Scientists believe that millions of species still remain undiscovered, hidden high above where we rarely look. And then there are the plants themselves, bromeliads and mosses that live not in the soil but on branches, perched in the canopy like guests at a great feast. These are called epiphytes, plants that grow upon other plants without harming them. They collect rainwater in their leaves, creating tiny pools that become homes for frogs, insects, and even small fish. In some rainforests, an entire ecosystem can exist inside the cup of a single bromeliad, a miniature world resting in the crook of a branch. The science of the canopy reveals just how interconnected it is. Every leaf, branch, and flower plays a role. The canopy blocks sunlight, protecting the forest floor from drying out. It catches rainfall, slowing its fall so the soil below does not wash away. It creates a humid, shaded environment that allows countless species to thrive. In this way, the canopy acts as a shield, a roof, and a nursery all at once. Yet, for all its importance, the canopy is one of the least explored environments on Earth. Only in recent decades have scientists developed ways to study it directly using ropes, cranes, and even walkways built high above the ground. What they have found is astonishing. New species of insects. The canopy is not just part of the forest, it is a world of its own, layered and complex, endlessly surprising. At night, birds quiet their songs, folding into nests. Bats emerge, fluttering silently to catch insects in the dark. Moths replace butterflies, their wings pale and soft, drifting through the moonlight. Owls glide silently among branches, watching with golden eyes. The canopy hums with quieter sounds, more mysterious, more dreamlike. It is a reminder that the forest does not sleep, it shifts, exchanging one chorus for another, one rhythm for the next. And as you listen now, perhaps you can picture yourself high in this canopy, swaying gently with the branches. The ground is far below, distant, forgotten. Above you, the sky stretches wide. Around you, leaves glow faintly in silver light, moving softly in the night wind. Somewhere nearby, a bird rustles, a bat flickers past, an insect hums. It is quiet, yet alive, an endless cradle in the sky. The canopy is the crown of the forest, but it is also its soul. It captures light, shares breath, shelters life, and connects the earth below to the heavens above. To dream of the canopy is to dream of balance, of stillness wrapped in motion, of a living cathedral built not of stone but of leaves, air, and light. And in that dream you may find rest. For just as the canopy protects the forest, it also protects you, cradling you in its branches, soothing you with its quiet rhythm, carrying you gently into sleep. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself standing deep within a forest. You are surrounded not just by trees, not just by the sight of green, but by sound. At first, it may seem like silence, but listen closely, and you begin to notice the layers. A bird calling in the distance, the soft rustle of leaves stirred by a breeze, the drip of water falling from moss into a stream. These sounds blend together into something more than background noise. They create a symphony, one that has been playing for millions of years. The forest is alive with music, though it is not composed by any single creature. Rather, it is shaped by countless voices, each singing, each moving, each adding to the chorus. Scientists have even studied this, calling it soundscape ecology, the science of natural sound. They tell us that the sounds of forests carry patterns, rhythms, and harmonies, as if the woods themselves were an orchestra. The first notes in this natural symphony often come at dawn. As the first light touches the canopy, birds awaken and begin their morning songs. Warblers, thrushes, sparrows, and wrens all join in, creating what scientists call the dawn chorus. The songs are not random, they are declarations of territory, calls to mates, signals of life. To human ears, they sound joyful, bright, uplifting, and studies have shown that listening to birdsong can lower stress, calm anxiety, and even help people recover faster from illness. Our brains, it seems, are wired to find comfort in the sound of birds. But birds are not the only musicians. The wind itself is a player in the forest's orchestra. As it moves through branches, it creates whispers, sighs, and sometimes roaring crescendos. The sound of leaves rustling is more than random noise, has a quality called pink noise, a balanced blend of frequencies that our brains interpret. Unlike the harshness of mechanical sounds, rustling leaves carry the same gentle rhythm as waves on a shore or rain falling on a roof. It is no wonder that people fall asleep so easily to recordings of forest wind. Water is another voice in the forest's music. Streams trickle, rivers rush, waterfalls roar, and rain patters softly on leaves. Each has its own rhythm, steady and grounding. Psychologists explain that the sound of water reminds us of safety, of abundance, of places where humans have always found life. To hear a stream in the woods is to hear the earth itself breathing steadily. In fact, researchers have found that the sound of running water can slow the heart rate, lower blood pressure, and quiet the restless chatter of the mind. Even insects join the song. In summer forests, cicadas hum in waves that rise and fall like invisible tides. Crickets chirp rhythmically in the night, each species with its own tempo. These sounds may seem simple, but together they weave an atmosphere of familiarity, grounding us in the present moment. To lie in a forest at night and hear crickets chirping is to know that life surrounds you, carrying on as it always has. There are deeper, subtler sounds too. The cracking of a branch as it falls, the shuffle of a deer through dry leaves, the faint tapping of a woodpecker far in the distance. Each sound carries information, a message to those who know how to listen. For animals, these sounds are signals warning of danger, revealing food, calling to mates. For us, they create immersion. They remind us that we are part of something larger, something alive, something that does not depend on human hands to exist. And then there is the most profound sound of all, the sound of quiet. Not silence, for the forest is never truly silent, but a soft background hum of life that is so constant it feels like silence. Scientists tell us that spending time in such natural quiet restores our attention, heals our minds, and reduces mental fatigue. Unlike the artificial silence of closed rooms, the quiet of the forest is alive, warm, and deeply human. Think of this: for most of human history, we slept to these sounds. Before cities, before engines, before screens, our ancestors drifted into dreams to the chorus of birds, the rustle of leaves, the patter of rain. Our nervous systems evolved in rhythm with these natural soundscapes. Perhaps that is why, even today, when we play recordings of forests to fall asleep, our bodies respond as though we were back beneath the stars, sheltered by branches, safe in the cradle of the woods. So, as you listen now, imagine this symphony around you: birds weaving melody in the morning, wind sighing through leaves, water flowing steady and endless, insects creating quiet rhythms. All together, they form a song without composer, without beginning or end. A song that has been playing for millions of years and will continue long after we are gone. Lie back in your mind's eye, feel the moss beneath you, and let the forest's music carry you. Each sound is a lullaby, each whisper a comfort, each rhythm a guide into rest. The forest sings not just to itself, but to you, inviting you to release, to breathe, to close your eyes, and drift into sleep on its eternal song. Asterisk. The forest is not only a place of trees and animals. For as long as humans have told stories, forests have been woven into myth, into legend, into the deepest corners of imagination. When you walk beneath the branches, when you feel the shadow and light flickering between the trunks, you are stepping into a world that our ancestors once thought of as enchanted. For many cultures, the forest was the edge of the known world. Villages and towns were small, but the woods stretched endlessly. To enter the forest was to enter a place of mystery, where the rules of ordinary life seemed to fade. It is no wonder that so many stories place heroes and wanderers in forests, because the forest represents the unknown, the test, the place where transformation happens. Think of the fairy tales you may have heard as a child. Hansel and Gretel lost in the woods, Little Red Riding Hood walking through the dark trees, Sleeping Beauty hidden away in a castle surrounded by brambles. In all of these, the forest is more than scenery. It is a character. Sometimes it is frightening, sometimes it is protective, but it is always powerful. But myths of the forest go back far earlier than fairy tales. In ancient Celtic traditions, forests were sacred. The Druids saw groves of oak trees as holy places where the spirits of the earth could be felt most strongly. The Norse people believed that the world tree, Yggdrasil, connected all realms of existence, its roots stretching deep into the underworld, its branches reaching high into the heavens. In Japan, forests are home to calmly spiritual beings who live in rocks, rivers, and trees, each carrying its own energy. Even in modern times, we speak of forests as though they hold secrets. Scientists talk about the wood wide web, the underground network of roots and fungi through which trees share nutrients and information. To many, this discovery feels almost magical, as though confirming what ancient people had always suspected, that the forest is alive in ways we cannot always see. There are countless legends of beings who dwell in forests. In Slavic folklore, there is the Leshy, a guardian spirit of the woods, both trickster and protector. In German tales, the Walgeist, the spirit of the forest, could lead travelers astray or watch over them. In the rainforests of South America, tribes speak of spirits that move between trees, guiding hunters or warning them of danger. Why do humans place so many spirits and myths in forests? Perhaps it is because when we stand in the woods, we feel small. The trees tower above us, ancient, silent, watchful. Shadows shift, sounds echo, and we sense presences we cannot name. The forest invites imagination, and imagination fills it with beings. The symbolism of forests in dreams and stories is also striking. To walk into a forest in a dream is often seen as entering the subconscious, exploring the parts of ourselves that are hidden, mysterious, unknown. The forest is where we face fears, discover truths, and emerge transformed. In literature, characters often begin their journeys in the safety of home. But the moment they enter the forest, the real adventure begins. Yet forests are not only places of fear and trial, they are also symbols of renewal. Many myths tell of magical groves where eternal springs flow, where healing herbs grow, where wisdom can be found. In Greek mythology, Artemis, goddess of the hunt, was protector of wild forests. In Hindu stories, sages and holy men retreated into forests to meditate, to seek enlightenment. The forest is both challenge and refuge, danger and sanctuary. There is a certain peace in knowing that people across the world, in every time and place, have felt this same mystery. Whether in the misty woods of Europe, the bamboo forests of Asia, or the vast jungles of Africa and South America, humans have looked at the forest and seen more than trees. They have seen eternity. And even today, when we walk a forest trail, we feel echoes of those ancient stories. The way the light filters through branches feels sacred. The quiet between trunks feels like a temple. A sudden sound in the underbrush reminds us that this world is alive and not entirely under our control. The forest still humbles us, still reminds us that there is more to the world than what we can measure or explain. So, as you lie, listening to these words, imagine not only the science of the forest, but also its spirit. Imagine the myths whispered in the dark, the gods and guardians said to walk between the trees, the feeling that you are never entirely alone when you enter the woods. Let yourself be carried into that space where science and story meet, where the real and the imagined blend together, where the forest is both fact and dream, And as you drift, let the mystery of the forest soothe you. For in its shadows there is no threat, only comfort. In its depth there is no danger, only wonder. The forest has always been, and will always be, a place of story. And tonight it is your story too, asterisk. The forest, in all its depth, is more than just a collection of facts or a backdrop for human stories. It is a living presence, a quiet companion that has been with us since the very beginning. From the time our ancestors first walked upright, forests have sheltered us, fed us, and challenged us. They have been our homes, our teachers, our mysteries. We have wandered beneath their canopies, marveling at the way sunlight filters down through leaves like stained glass in a cathedral. We have listened to their music, the birdsong, the streams, the wind in the branches sounds that our hearts have learned to recognize as safe and soothing. We have told stories about them, filled them with spirits and gods, and seen them as places of both fear and refuge. Science tells us how they work, how trees share water, how roots intertwine with fungi, how ecosystems depend on balance. Myth tells us why they matter to the soul, symbols of mystery, transformation, and renewal. But tonight, all of these strands weave together. The science is not separate from the magic, for both inspire wonder. The forest teaches us about connection, trees connected to each other, humans connected to the woods, imagination connected to reality. And as you listen now, you are part of that same connection, part of the quiet rhythm that has pulsed through the world for millions of years. Think of the trees again. Imagine their roots deep in the soil, reaching into the unseen world. Imagine their trunks rising strong and steady, holding the weight of time. Imagine their branches stretching outward, whispering in the breeze, reaching toward the stars. The forest lives in three directions at once: deep below, steady in the present, high above. In that way, it reflects our own lives, rooted in the past, standing in the now, dreaming toward the future. And the forest asks for nothing in return. It simply exists. It breathes, it grows, it shelters, it sings. It is patient, slow, and timeless. To lie beneath its canopy is to remember that you too are part of nature, that you too are allowed to rest, to breathe, to let go of the rush of days. The forest does not hurry, and in its presence you do not have to either. Close your eyes, if they are not closed already. Picture yourself walking a path into the woods. The air is cool, carrying the scent of pine and earth. The light is soft, green, and golden. With each step, the sounds of the modern world fade behind you, and the music of the forest surrounds you. Birds sing, a stream murmurs, leaves rustle. You find a clearing, soft with moss, and you lie down, looking up through branches to a sky filled with stars. Here you feel safe. Here you feel calm. Here you remember what it is to simply be. The forest holds you the way it has held life for countless centuries. Its stillness becomes your stillness. Its breath becomes your breath. And as your body relaxes, as your mind drifts gently between thought and dream, the forest watches over you. The great trees stand like guardians, ancient and steady. The night creatures sing softly around you. The earth beneath you is warm, alive, eternal. The forest does not ask you to stay awake, to analyze, to understand. It simply asks you to rest, to surrender, To let your thoughts become quiet, your breathing become steady, your body become weightless. Just as countless generations before you have slept to the lullaby of the woods, you too can drift now, carried by the same eternal song. And so, with the music of birds, the whisper of leaves, the trickle of water, and the timeless presence of the trees, you close your eyes and surrender to sleep. The forest holds you, the forest soothes you, the forest dreams with you. Rest now, child of the earth. The story is told, the science is whispered, the myths are remembered. The night is long, but you are safe. The forest will keep singing softly, endlessly, as you drift into dreams. Asterisk.